You don't know how tricky it is and how sly it is and how smart it is and cunning it is. You have no idea. You think you know, but you don't know. So try to manage it. But Paul's saying, look, no. Do not manage sin. Kill it as violently as you have to. Whatever that is to you, put it to death. You used to walk in these ways in the life you once lived. But now you must also rid yourselves of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, filthy language from your lips. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge and the image of its creator. One of the most important things for us to read as we have this, I would say probably a common ground list of things that would be not what Jesus desires for us, this large list that he's created for us. I think the most important phrase we've got to see is that he uses the phrase, put them to death. Put them to death. Now, I love that language because it's aggressive, and I like to be aggressive. I like that language, and what I want you to do is just picture however you put things to death. Not you personally, we're not doing those things right, but however you would see something. So I watched a little docuseries on Napoleon Bonaparte, and there was a beheading in it. And so that's what I'm picturing right now is that little image. So whatever, it was a firing squad, you picture that. If it's, I don't know what's some other ways, gas chamber, you can picture that. Whatever it is, when you're thinking put something to death, however you would do that, put it to death. Waterboard them till they drown, I'm not sure. Whatever you do, he's saying that's what I want you to do. I want you to put sin to death, to execute it. That's his words. Execute the sin in your life. He's not PG in it. He's not saying, hey, I need you to manage the sin, okay? I need you to realize it. I need you to manage it, right? Let's dial it back a little. That's not what he says. He says, execute it. Kill it. It's incredibly violent. It's a very aggressive move that he's asking us to. He says, put it to death. Your porn addiction, put it to death. Don't try to do it less, put it to death. Your greed, constantly taking advantage of people, the way that you're cheating the system, the way that you're benefiting, causing other people to suffer, put it to death. Don't make small adjustments so they don't suffer as much and that you don't gain as much. No. Put it to death. And why is that? Because he knows us. He knows us. He knows when we try to manage our porn addiction, it can't be managed. It can't be managed. He knows when we try to manage our greed, it can't be managed. We can camouflage it, put it in the woods in the deer blind and say, pretend it's not there, but everybody knows there's a gun in there. You know what I'm saying? And if you put on a deer costume, walk through it, it's gonna get you. That's the way it is. That's the way sin works. You think you have the ability to control sin? Sin isn't yours. Your sin isn't even yours. You think you created your sin? You own your sin? No, that don't belong to you. You don't know how it was worked. You weren't there when it was born. You weren't there when it was conceived of. You don't know how tricky it is and how sly it is and how smart it is and cunning it is. You have no idea. You think you know, but you don't know. So try to manage it. But Paul's saying, look, no. Do not manage sin. Kill it. Kill it. As violently as you have to. Whatever that is to you, put it to death. The truth is, when we think through our actions and our words being worship, the truth is that sin and worship can't coexist at the same time. So there's no sin that we could be involved in this moment and also put the name of Jesus on it. Now, it is very possible for you to have moments of sin in your life followed by moments of worship. We're human beings, right? Like all of us have these moments where we slip into something like, this is not who I want to be. This is not who maybe I believed I was, but I had a really difficult day and this is what's come out of me. And we can then have moments of worship that follow that up. That say, hey, God, I'm sorry. And God, I do believe that you know what's best. And we can do those things. But at the same time, they can't coexist. You can't sin and worship at the same time. Your sin can't be worship. And so as we think through our own world, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, hey, if we've got an even ledger sheet and the balance of good and evil in our life is equal, we don't want it to be equal so it balances each other out. We want to push the bad down and the good up. We want to become more like Jesus. The other thing I think is really interesting about the way that they approach this is what's in this next verse here, verse 12. He says, therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. I love that he gives this list that's common ground for all of us and says, yeah, this is probably not a list Jesus is okay with. And then he says, hey, just a heads up, there's wrath for this list. But there's Jesus. It's your choice. But then it's not even so much let's eliminate the bad things. He uses this phrase, put on, like you're putting on a jacket, like you're getting dressed in the morning, which tells us a couple of things. First thing, the list of things that he says, remember we go back and read just a little bit of it. He says, put on compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, right? In other words, he's acknowledging that for a lot of us, we're not gonna wake up in the morning just spitting gentleness and patience. Like it's not gonna be in us. It's gonna have to be something, we gotta go to the closet and open up the closet and say, all right, I need to put on a patience jacket today. It's not naturally who I am, but I can clothe myself in it today. All right, I'm put some pants on. I'm gonna put some humility pants on today, right? Humility pants going on, patience shoes, whatever it is, that we can clothe ourselves with that. In other words, when you wake up in the morning, you get to choose what kind of day you will have in terms of how you'll respond to it. And you can prepare yourself with that. How do you prepare yourself? You think on the heavenly things. That you start your day by saying, hey, I already know what's in my closet because I've been thinking about that outfit for weeks. And I'm gonna believe in that. And I'm gonna make sure that as I process the reality of who I am and what I want to be, that it's in my closet. It's something that's doable for me to choose. You know, I think a lot of times people think that our character as a Christian would be forced on us, but it's not. We get to decide our character. It's a choice we get to make. It's something we can put on. This also means that you can choose to change. And here's the really, really difficult part. You see, I think there's some of you that are thinking through this 167 thing and you're like, hey, you know what? I think I do need to align my 167 more with my expectations of my 1 hour a week. And I bet for some of you this afternoon, you're gonna make a call to someone that you look up to spiritually. Probably like a big brother, big sister, or mother or father in the faith kind of person. And you're gonna call them and you're gonna say, hey, so at church today, we were talking about starting your day by thinking on heavenly things. And I bet you're gonna ask them, how do you do that? How do you do that? Because we talked about it starts with a mindset. So how do you get your mind wrapped around godly things like Jesus things and not the to-do list and all those things? How do you do that? And they're gonna give you an answer. This is how I do it. And your logical step is probably gonna say, well, shoot, if it's good for them, I'm gonna try that. And it might work for you, right? You're gonna try it. And let's just say this conversation happens this afternoon, which I guarantee some of you are gonna have that conversation. And then you're gonna try to implement tomorrow morning whatever that person told you that you think is good advice. And you're gonna try it. And tomorrow morning, you're gonna wake up and you're gonna do something different. And I bet at least a couple of them are gonna say, you know what, I have a devotional or something I do in the morning. Is it okay if I just text it to you in the morning? And maybe just this week, we'll just read the same thing in the morning, right? I'll send you what I'm reading. Read it if you want or don't, it's up to you, no pressure. But just I'll share it with you. And I bet tomorrow morning they deliver and they text you that thing and you're reading the same thing as your spiritual mother, spiritual father in the faith. And all of a sudden you're reading it and they're reading it and you made a decision like, this is good for me. Like I'm already feeling better. But then you walk into work or whatever you got to do tomorrow And you're walking into a group of people who do not know. You sat here, had a conversation up here, had a conversation with a spiritual mentor, followed through on some action the next morning, has started your morning different. They have no idea. They assume you are showing up the same as you were Friday. And that's a hard spot, especially when you have a reputation. And your reputation is something other than the person you want to be. You might be the gossip girl or the gossip guy. Is that, man, if I need a juicy detail, I can go to them because not only do they know it, they like to spill it. And so I'm headed their way because I got to get some stuff on what happened this weekend because I heard, but I want to hear it from somebody else. Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's something else, but you already have a reputation. Maybe it's in your family as a troublemaker, whatever it is. You've got a reputation, and you now have to deal with the reality of the world you've created for yourself. And that's hard. And this is typically where we go off the rails. But let me go ahead and tell you how to answer when you get in that moment. Because someone's going to come to you, assuming you're the same person you were Friday, and you're going to have to tell them, and this is how you answer. Say, hey, here's the deal. This past weekend, I've been doing a lot of thinking. And I know this is going to sound strange, but I'm really not proud of who I've become. Like I just did some inventory, and it doesn't make me proud. And like this conversation we're having that you just asked me about, like, I don't want to be that person. And I don't know if I can stop, but I want to. And so I went to church this weekend, and I read the Bible this morning. You know, I didn't understand most of it, but I did read it. But I am at peace knowing that I don't actually have to know all the answers. And then I feel good about my decision. And I hope you'll be happy for me. And if they say, no, I'm not happy for you, put them to death. I'm just kidding, you don't put them to death. You don't do that. You don't do that. No. You put sin to death, okay? Not the sinners, the sin, okay? No, you say, I was really hoping you'd be excited. But it's all right, because the truth is I might not be excited for me either, but I do think it's the best. And you walk away. Or maybe some of you are going to be super blessed, and the response is going to be, man, I wish I could do something like that. I think I could pull it off. Then you might have an opportunity to say, well, maybe you and I can be imperfect together. I got this friend who sent me this thing this morning. Maybe I don't even own a Bible, right? But they sent it to me a screenshot, and I read it. I can send it to you. You can read it on your lunch break. That's how you handle it. You just got to be honest. You can't pretend that all of a sudden you were this new person on Friday. You just got to be honest. I wasn't that person on Friday. In fact, the last 10 years you've known me, I haven't been this person. But I don't want to be that person. I want to be someone different. I want to be better. And I think I've got a first step, and today's the first step, and you're the first person I've told. So here it is. And I know that's a hard conversation to have, but it's a conversation worth having, especially if you're really thinking about the 167 belonging to Jesus.